Hello. Good after evening.
What?
I was getting ready to say good afternoon.
Good
and
after evening.
I seen it was evening, so I had to change it real quick. So I didn't look stupid, but that didn't work.
Good after evening.
So good after evening. I am here with the Dreams and Miracles book by Anne Spangler. And we're going to be reading one of Anne Spangler's stories today that she wrote in for her own book. Let's see. High Anxiety is today's story. And again, these are all true stories. This is High Anxiety by Anne Spangler, and I will start out by reading you the introduction. I had the following dream at the end of October 1995, just after I completed work on a book I was writing. I had spent a week's vacation working on the manuscript in order to meet my deadline. Now it was time to return to my day job as a book editor. As I lay my head on the pillow that Sunday evening, I made the mistake of rehearsing the week ahead. All my anxieties about work came flooding in. I know how nights are like that. Alright, now let's get into the story. One of my authors had completely changed the outline for his book. The work we planned to publish had vanished, and a substantially different kind of book had taken its place. Unfortunately, he was determined to strike a new course, regardless of what his publisher thought. A second book was to have been produced on a rush schedule. Thus far, the author hadn't supplied his collaborator with even a page of material from which to work. Despite promises to the contrary, countless phone calls, pleadings, and begging him, we still had nothing, and the book would undoubtedly be late. These concerns were racing around my head as I tried to sleep. I shut my eyes and prayed, admitting that I didn't know what to do and asking God's help. The dream that followed was anything but restful, but I believe it was an answer to prayer. I dreamed I was standing in a hotel room, talking with a friend. Ruth told me she needed to cancel a speaking engagement scheduled for later that day. Would I mind taking her place and addressing a woman's luncheon at a local church? I assured her I would be glad to cover for her, but as soon as I said yes, I panicked. It dawned on me that it was already 11 a.m., and the luncheon was scheduled to begin at noon. I hadn't the slightest idea what I would say to the 200 women who would attend. Call a cab, I need to call a cab, was all I could think. But as soon as I turned to use the phone, I discovered that another friend was already using it. Despite sign language indicating I desperately needed the phone, she continued to talk about trivial details to someone on the other end of the line. I was furious at her insensitivity. But the time I finally made it to the luncheon, all I could think was that I needed to find a quiet room in which to gather my thoughts. I had 20 minutes to decide what I was going to say. Someone pointed me in the direction, and I took off running, hoping to sequester myself until the event began. I soon found myself sprinting across the top of a piano. As I glanced down, I noticed a piece of sheet music resting on the piano, entitled "Be Still and Know That I Am God." Suddenly it dawned on me. I had been given the text of my talk. As soon as I reached the room, I began frantically working out the meaning of this verse from Psalms. What exactly did it mean to be still? I had been anxious and angry about anything but still. And what about the God part? Had I been playing God by trying to handle everything on my own, trying to make sure everything worked out smoothly? In my dream, the insights were coming so rapidly that I tried writing them down so I wouldn't forget them. But as with the rest of the dream, my efforts were frustrated. I couldn't find anything to write on. Finally, I managed to round up a few old scraps of paper, but every time I jotted a note, I would lose the piece of paper it was written on. As the luncheon was about to begin, I woke up. When I opened my eyes, I realized that the message, "Be still and know that I am God," was meant for me, not for the audience in my dream. God was trying to get through to me about my own anxiety. I was running too fast, doing too much, trying to take charge of things that were outside my control. I needed to stop saying yes to the impossible demands I placed on myself, to slow down and learn to be still, letting God be God in every situation in my life. I was intrigued by the piano and the sheet music in my dream and wondered what they might represent. A few days later, I happened across a note in a book by Paul Meyer and Robert Wise entitled "Windows of the Soul: A Look at Dreams and Their Meaning." At the back of the book is a section containing a list of various dream symbols and their possible meanings. Here's what it said about music. Music is a source of peace and well-being. The symbol may suggest inner harmony and could signal things are going well. In fact, things are definitely not going well. Still, I couldn't help but wonder whether God wasn't speaking to me about the inner harmony I lacked and longed for. Wasn't He telling me that internal peace came not from striving to do everything perfectly, not from saying yes to every good idea, but from quieting my soul in His presence and letting Him reveal Himself in the midst of my circumstances? As so often happens, the books I was worried about when I went to bed that night turned out just fine. Looking back, I have to wonder how much energy I regularly waste by not surrounding my anxieties to God in the first place. My dream hasn't fixed the problem, but it has caused me to re-examine my priorities, to ask myself whether I am running ahead of God or responding to His intuitive. Who knows? If I can learn the lesson my dream is trying to teach me, I may not need to learn it the way I usually do, the hard way, through painful experience. And that was Anne Spangler's story, High Anxiety. So I hope you guys enjoyed Anne's story today. And God willing, I'll see you guys soon with another story. I hope you guys have a great weekend. Bye guys. God bless.